Welcome back to Rare Gameroom Gaming. Today we're going behind the blood-soaked curtain to uncover the history of Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, a game that ignited controversy, defined a genre, and helped shape video game ratings as we know them. What's the real story behind the Super Nintendo version? Why was it so different from other ports? And how did it stack up against other fighters, both classic and modern? Mortal Kombat began not on a Nintendo console, but in arcades in 1992, developed by Midway Games. The brainchild of Ed Boon and John Tobias, the game was originally conceived as a Jean-Claude Van Damme game. When that deal fell through, they went full fantasy martial arts, pulling inspiration from Big Trouble in Little China. And Enter the Dragon. Before Mortal Kombat, Midway was known for arcade hits like Narc, 1988, a surprisingly brutal shooter, and Smash TV. You can actually see the DNA of these games in Mortal Kombat's over-the-top violence and digitized characters. The Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat released in 1993, alongside a Sega Genesis port. But here's where the drama starts. Nintendo, trying to maintain its family-friendly image, censored the Super Nintendo version heavily. No blood, no real fatalities. Instead of ripping out spines, Sub-Zero just freezes and shatters enemies. Meanwhile, the Genesis version had a cheat code to unlock all the gore. This censorship sparked huge backlash, and it actually helped the Genesis version outsell the Super Nintendo version, despite the latter having crisper graphics and smoother sound. One of the most important legacies of Mortal Kombat isn't even about gameplay, it's about regulation. It was one of the main games that led to the creation of the ESRB, the ratings board that still assigns E for everyone and M for mature to games today. When Mortal Kombat hit arcades and home consoles in the early 90s, it shocked parents and politicians alike. The blood, the realistic-looking digitized characters, and the now infamous fatalities, like ripping out spines or burning opponents alive, sparked massive controversy. In December 1993, Mortal Kombat and games like Night Trap were at the center of a congressional hearing led by Senators Joe Lieberman and Herb Kohl. They were outraged by the violence and lack of age restrictions. That hearing led directly to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, in 1994. Super Nintendo sales were around 1.45 million units globally, impressive, but it could have been more had they kept the edge. Japan did get a Super Famicom version of Mortal Kombat, but it was a very limited release. Titled the same, it had all the same censorship as the US Super Nintendo version, possibly even more restrictive due to Japan's stricter content norms at the time. Interestingly, Mortal Kombat was far less popular in Japan overall. The Street Fighter series completely dominated there, and Capcom's polish and deep mechanics made MK look like a brutal novelty to Japanese audiences. After Mortal Kombat's controversial debut on Super Nintendo and Genesis, the series kept evolving, both in gameplay and legacy. In 1993, Mortal Kombat 2 dropped, and this time Nintendo dropped the censorship. The Super Nintendo version featured full gore and real fatalities, helping restore faith in Nintendo's hardcore fanbase. Many fans still call MK2 the best in the series, Tighter controls, more characters, and brutal new finishers.
Finisher.
By Mortal Kombat 3, the roster had grown, combo systems were added, and characters like Cabal and Sindel were introduced. But as the series entered the 3D era on PlayStation 2, with games like Deadly Alliance and Deception, MK began reinventing itself. Those games ditched the arcade roots for deeper lore, multiple fighting styles per character, and even RPG elements, like Conquest Mode and chess mini-games. They weren't just gimmicks, they showed Midway was willing to experiment. But the real rebirth came in 2011 with Mortal Kombat, aka MK9, a soft reboot that retold the events of the first 3 games with modern visuals and a cinematic story mode. It was violent, stylish, and brought back fan-favorite fighters. This game re-established MK as a top-tier fighting franchise. Then came MKX and MK11, expanding the lore, introducing guest fighters like Alien, Predator, and Joker, and refining online competitive play. The visuals? Hollywood level. The fatalities? More gruesome than ever. And in 2023, Mortal Kombat 1 launched, a total timeline reset, same core characters but fresh origin stories, an evolved gameplay engine, and new cameo fighters that assist during matches. From arcades to esports, Super Nintendo censorship to R-rated modern glory, Mortal Kombat hasn't just survived, it's thrived. It's one of the longest-running and most iconic franchises in gaming history. So, what do you think? Was the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat a missed opportunity or a misunderstood classic? And did you play the censored version or go full gore on Genesis? If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. And let us know in the comments what original Nintendo or Super Nintendo game you'd like us to cover next in our history series. Tap one of the videos on the screen to keep the nostalgia rolling. From Donkey Kong Country to Super Mario Kart, we've got you covered. Thanks for watching Rare Gameroom Gaming, where the classics never die.